Learn English through story. The dark whisper of love. In a town where the streets whispered secrets under the glow of flickering street lights. The air was thick with unspoken desires. The townsfolk went about their lives with a veneer of normalcy. But beneath the surface, shadows danced in the corners of their hearts. Among them was Alara, a woman who had mastered the art of hiding her true self. Alara lived in a modest cottage on the outskirts of town, surrounded by a garden that flourished in vibrant hues despite the gloom that often enveloped her soul. She was a skilled artisan, creating beautiful pottery that adorned many homes in the area. Yet, behind her smile lay a heart burdened with past sorrows, a love lost that had left her feeling hollow. Years ago, Alara had been in love with Marcus, a charismatic painter whose passion for art was rivaled only by his love for her. They had shared a connection that felt like fire, igniting a flame within her that she had never known existed. But their love was not without its trials. The darkness of Marcus's past loomed over them like a storm cloud, casting shadows on their future. One fateful evening, during a heated argument about his struggles with addiction, Marcus had stormed out, leaving Alara standing in their empty home. Her heart shattered. She waited for him to return, but he never did. The void left in his absence consumed her, and over the years, she buried her grief beneath layers of work and routine, determined to move on, yet always haunted by the ghost of their love. It was on a cold autumn night, as leaves danced in the wind and the moon bathed the town in silver light, that fate intervened. Alara was closing her pottery shop when she heard a familiar voice. It was a voice she had longed to forget but could never quite silence. Alara. She turned, her breath catching in her throat. There stood Marcus, his once vibrant presence now overshadowed by the toll of time and struggle. His eyes, once full of light, were dulled by weariness. Yet they still held the spark that had drawn her to him all those years ago. Marcus, a broken bar, she breathed, disbelief washing over her. I came back, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I needed to see you. Alara felt a whirlwind of emotions, joy, anger, and sorrow all mingled into a single, powerful force. After all this time, why now? I've been trying to find my way back, he replied, stepping closer. I've battled my demons. And I thought maybe broken bar, maybe we could start over. For a moment, Alara's heart raced with hope, a flicker of the love they once shared igniting within her. But that hope quickly turned to doubt. She remembered the pain, the nights spent crying for the man who had vanished from her life. I don't know if I can go through that again, she confessed, her voice trembling. I've changed, Marcus insisted, desperation creeping into his tone. I want to make things right. Alara felt torn. The love they had shared was like a shadow, always lurking. But could she trust him again? The whispers of her heart urged her to embrace the possibility. Yet the scars of the past screamed for caution. Let me show you, Marcus said, his eyes pleading. I'll prove it to you. Let's take this one day at a time. Days turned into weeks, and against her better judgment, Alara found herself drawn back into Marcus's orbit. He began to visit her regularly, each encounter stirring the embers of their shared history. They talked for hours, reminiscing about their dreams, their laughter, and the love that had once consumed them. Slowly, Alara allowed herself to feel again. She saw glimpses of the man she had fallen in love with, the artist who could make the world beautiful with his brush. But there were still moments when the darkness in Marcus threatened to seep through, and each time it did, Alar's heart would race with fear. One evening, while they sat on the porch of her cottage, the sun setting behind them, Marcus took a deep breath. "I want to show you something," he said, his voice steady. "What is it?" Alara asked, curiosity piqued. "Just trust me," he replied, standing up and extending his hand to her. Alara hesitated, her instincts screaming to hold back, but the longing to believe in him overpowered her fears. She took his hand, and together they walked to a secluded spot near the edge of town where a small art studio had once thrived. The studio was dilapidated, covered in vines and the remnants of forgotten dreams. Marcus led her inside, and as the door creaked open, Alara gasped. The walls were adorned with paintings of stunning landscapes, portraits, and abstract expressions that captured the essence of their love and the struggles he had faced. "I've been painting again," Marcus said, his voice filled with pride. "Each piece represents a part of my journey back to you." Tears welled in Alari's eyes as she took in the beauty around her. "This is incredible," she whispered, touched by the raw emotion in his work. Each brush stroke seemed to tell a story, a tale of love, loss, and redemption. But just as she began to feel the warmth of their connection, the shadows crept back. "What if this is just a moment? What if you fall back into old habits?" Alar's voice trembled as doubt seeped into her heart. "I won't," Marcus promised, his eyes filled with determination. "I've fought too hard to lose you again. I'll do whatever it takes." That night, as Alara lay in bed, her heart raced with conflicting emotions. She wanted to believe in Marcus's transformation, to embrace the love that had once burned so brightly between them, but the fear of the past clawed at her, a relentless reminder of the pain they had endured. As the days passed, Alara found herself caught in a whirlwind of passion and fear. They spent more time together, rekindling their romance. Yet the shadows of doubt lingered in the background. Each time Marcus left, she felt a sense of unease, the whispers of her heart reminding her of the risk she was taking. Then came the night that would change everything. Alara was hosting a small gathering at her cottage to celebrate the reopening of her pottery shop. Friends filled the room, laughter and music echoing off the walls. Amidst the joy, Alara caught glimpses of Marcus standing alone, his eyes dark and distant. She felt a knot form in her stomach as a familiar sense of dread washed over her. "Hey," she said, approaching him. "You okay?" Marcus forced a smile but it didn't reach his eyes. "Just thinking." "About what?" she pressed, concern evident in her voice. "About everything," he said quietly. "About how much I've missed this." Alara wrapped her arms around him, trying to soothe the unease that had settled between them. "You're here now, that's what matters." But as the night wore on, Alara noticed subtle changes in Marcus's demeanor. He became withdrawn, his laughter fading into silence. The darkness that had once enveloped him was creeping back, and Alara felt a familiar fear rise within her. After the guests left, Alara confronted him. "Marcus, what's going on? You seem distant." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I'm just a broken bar overwhelmed. Being back here, it's a lot to process." "Then let's talk about it. We can work through this together," Alara urged, desperation lacing her words. "I don't want to burden you," he replied, his voice heavy. "You're not a burden, I care about you," she insisted, her heart aching at the thought of losing him again. But as the night deepened, Marcus retreated further into himself. The walls he had built around his heart rising once more. Alara watched in helpless frustration, feeling the warmth of their love slip through her fingers. "Please, don't shut me out," she pleaded, her voice trembling. "I need space," he said sharply, stepping away from her. "Space? After everything we've been through?" Alara felt her heart shatter. "I thought we were building something together." "We are. But I'm still figuring things out," Marcus replied, his frustration evident. The tension in the room grew thick, suffocating them both. Alara felt the darkness creeping back, threatening to consume the love they had fought to reclaim. "I can't do this," she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I can't keep waiting for you to let me in." Marcus's expression softened for a moment, and he reached for her. But Alara stepped back. "You can't keep pushing me away. I've sacrificed so much to be here for you." "I'm sorry," he said, his voice breaking. "I don't want to hurt you, but I don't know how to make this right." "Maybe you need to face your demons first," Alara said, her heart heavy. "Maybe you need to figure out who you are without me." With that, Alara turned and walked away, leaving Marcus standing alone in the dim light of the cottage. The sound of her footsteps echoed in the silence, a haunting reminder of the love they had fought to reclaim. Days turned into weeks, and Alara focused on her pottery, pouring her emotions into her work. Each piece she created became a reflection of her heart, a beautiful yet fragile, echoing the pain of love lost and the longing for something more. But as much as she tried to immerse herself in her art, the memory of Marcus lingered like a dark whisper in the back of her mind. One afternoon, as she was glazing a new batch of pottery, Alara heard a soft knock at her door. Her heart raced as she opened it to find Marcus standing there, looking weary and worn. "I came to apologize," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I shouldn't have pushed you away. I've been trying to fight my demons, but it's harder than I thought." Alara felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. "What do you mean?" she asked, her heart pounding. "I went to see a counselor," he admitted, his eyes earnest. "I want to work through my issues, not just for myself but for us. I can't keep running from my past." Alara searched his face for signs of sincerity, and as she looked into his eyes, she saw a glimmer of the man she had fallen in love with. "I want to believe you, Marcus," she said, her voice steady. "But it will take time." "I'm willing to do whatever it takes," he promised, stepping closer. "I don't want to lose you again." With cautious optimism, Alara agreed to take things one day at a time, allowing Marcus back into her life while keeping her heart guarded. They began to rebuild their relationship, communicating openly and facing the challenges together. Marcus attended therapy regularly, and each week, he shared his progress with Alara. As the weeks turned into months, Alara saw significant changes in Marcus. He began to confront the demons that had haunted him, opening up about his struggles and insecurities. He painted with renewed passion, using art as a form of therapy, channeling his pain into vibrant canvases that reflected the beauty of his healing journey. Yet, even as Marcus made strides, Alara still felt the weight of fear in her heart. She had invested so much of herself into their relationship, and the shadows of the past loomed large. "What if he relapses?" she whispered to herself, the dark whisper echoing in her mind. One evening, As they sat together under the stars, Alara turned to Marcus. "I need to know that you're committed to this," she said, her voice steady. "You can't just say the words, you have to show me." "I understand," Marcus replied, his expression serious. "I'm committed to working through this. Not just for us but for my own sake. I want to be better." "Then let me in," Alara urged. "Let me help you. But you have to be honest with me." "I will," he promised. His eyes filled with sincerity. As time passed, the couple continued to grow closer. They shared moments of vulnerability and joy, learning to trust one another again. Alara found herself laughing more, the shadows of her past slowly fading away. Yet, the fear still lingered, a constant reminder of the fragility of love. One night, as they lay together, Alara's heart raced with uncertainty. "What if you're faced with temptation again?" she asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I won't let that happen," Marcus assured her, wrapping his arms around her. "I'm stronger now. I've faced my demons, and I will continue to fight." But as the weeks turned into months, a sense of unease settled within Alara. Marcus's progress was commendable, yet the fear of losing him to the darkness still haunted her. Then came the night that would shatter her fragile peace. Alara had been preparing for an art show, excited to showcase her latest pottery pieces alongside Marcus's paintings. But when she arrived at the venue, her heart sank. The atmosphere was electric, the air filled with laughter and music. Yet amidst the festivities, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. As the night wore on, Alara noticed Marcus standing at the bar, deep in conversation with an old friend from his past. The woman was beautiful, her laughter ringing like bells in the air. Alara felt a twinge of jealousy and unease knot in her stomach. When Marcus finally approached her, the light in his eyes seemed dimmer. "Hey, I was just catching up with an old friend," he said, his voice slightly strained. "Looks like you two were having a good time," Alara replied, her tone tinged with insecurity. "She's just an old acquaintance," Marcus reassured her, but Alara could sense the tension in his voice. "We're just talking." But as the night unfolded, Alara watched as Marcus and the woman continued to flirt, their laughter echoing in her ears like a haunting melody. The darkness within her began to stir, whispering doubts and fears she had tried so hard to silence. "Let's go outside," Alara suggested, needing to escape the suffocating atmosphere. Once outside, the cool night air wrapped around them, but the chill in her heart remained. "Is everything okay?" Marcus asked, concern etching his features. "I don't know," Alara admitted, her voice trembling. "I just a broken bar. I can't shake the feeling that you're still hiding something." "I'm not," Marcus insisted, frustration creeping into his tone. "I thought we were past this." "I want to believe that. But you can't keep shutting me out when things get tough," she said, her voice rising. "You need to communicate with me." "I'm trying," he replied, his voice growing tense. "But you keep bringing up the past, because it's a part of who you are," Alara exclaimed, tears welling in her eyes. "I'm scared, Marcus. I can't keep waiting for the other shoe to drop." "I'm not going to hurt you," he said firmly, his eyes searching hers. "I love you." As the words hung in the air, Alara felt the weight of his promise, but the darkness in her heart whispered a different story, a story of betrayal and loss. "Do you mean it?" she asked, her voice shaky. "Can you truly commit to this?" "Yes," he said, stepping closer. I'm done running from my past, I want to build a future with you. Alar searched his eyes for the truth, but the fear of uncertainty loomed larger than ever. Then show me, she whispered, her heart aching for reassurance. In the days that followed, Marcus's behavior became erratic. He struggled to balance his newfound commitment to healing with the remnants of his past that still haunted him. Alara watched as he fought to stay grounded, but with every setback, her heart broke a little more. Then came the night that would unravel everything. Alara had invited Marcus over for dinner, hoping to rekindle the connection they had once shared. She spent the afternoon preparing a meal, the warmth of the kitchen filling her with a sense of comfort. But when Marcus arrived, he was distant, his eyes clouded with something she couldn't quite place. "Are you okay?" Alara asked, concern creeping into her voice. "I'm fine," he replied curtly, avoiding her gaze. "Doesn't seem like it," she pressed, her heart racing with unease. "I said I'm fine," he snapped, frustration bubbling to the surface. Alar felt the tension rise between them, and for a moment, she considered walking away, but her heart urged her to fight for the love they had built. "Please, Marcus, talk to me," she said softly. "I don't want to ruin the evening," he replied, his voice strained. "Ruin it? We can't keep pretending everything is okay when it's not." Alar felt her patience wearing thin. "If something is bothering you, I want to help." "Maybe I don't need your help," he shouted, the walls closing in around them. The words pierced through Alara like a knife, and in that moment, she felt the walls of their relationship begin to crumble. "Then what do you need?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I need space," he replied, his tone cold. Alar's heart sank. "Space? After everything we fought for?" She felt tears sting her eyes. "You can't just walk away every time things get hard." "I'm not walking away, I'm trying to figure things out," he retorted, his frustration evident. "By shutting me out?" Alara cried, her heart breaking. "That's not how this works." In a fit of anger, Marcus turned and stormed out of the cottage, leaving Alara standing in the doorway, her heart shattering into a million pieces. She felt the darkness seep back in, a chilling reminder of the love she had fought to reclaim. Days turned into weeks, and Alara fell into a deep pit of despair. She poured her soul into her pottery, each piece reflecting her pain and longing. Yet the shadows of doubt and heartbreak loomed larger than ever. Then came the night that would change everything once again. Alara received a phone call late one evening. It was Marcus's sister, her voice trembling with urgency. "Alara, you need to come to the hospital." "It's Marcus." He he had a relapse. Panic surged through Alara's veins as she rushed to the hospital, fear gripping her heart. When she arrived, she found Marcus lying in a hospital bed, pale and frail, surrounded by family and friends. "Is he going to be okay?" Alara asked, her voice trembling as she approached his bedside. "He's stable, but he needs support," his sister replied, tears streaming down her cheeks. "He lost his way, and we were so scared." As Alara sat by Marcus's side, she felt a mixture of anger and heartbreak wash over her. "Why didn't you reach out to me?" she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I didn't want to drag you down with me," he replied weakly, his eyes filled with regret. "I thought I could handle it." "But you're not alone," Alara cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You never were. We could have faced this together." "I'm so sorry," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I should have fought harder. In that moment, Alara felt the walls around her heart begin to crumble. She had always known the darkness within Marcus, but she also knew the light that shone through. As she looked at him, frail yet determined, she realized that love was not just about the good times but also about facing the darkness together. I'm here for you, she whispered, taking his hand in hers. I always will be. Days turned into weeks as Marcus fought to reclaim his life once more, with Alara by his side. He entered a rehabilitation program, confronting the demons that had plagued him for so long. The road to recovery was long and arduous, but Alara stood beside him every step of the way. Together, they navigated the challenges of healing, learning to communicate openly and honestly. Each day was a new opportunity to rebuild their relationship, to face the darkness and find light in one another. As the seasons changed, Alara and Marcus found themselves growing closer than ever. They shared moments of vulnerability and joy, laughing together as they rediscovered the love that had once burned so brightly between them. One evening, as they sat under stars, the Alara turned to Marcus, her heart full of hope. I believe in you, she said, her voice steady. I believe in us. Marcus smiled, his eyes shining with gratitude. Thank you for not giving up on me, he replied, his voice thick with emotion. You've been my light in the darkest of times. As they embraced under the moonlight, Alara felt the weight of the past lift, replaced by the warmth of love and resilience. The darkness that had once whispered fear in her heart now served as a reminder of the strength they had found together. In the end, Alara learned that love was not without its trials, but it was in facing those trials that they found their true selves. The dark whispers of the past had shaped them, but it was the light of their love that would guide them forward, hand in hand, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. And as the stars twinkled above, Alara and Marcus knew that together, they could face any darkness that dared to creep into their lives. Their love had weathered the storm, emerging stronger and more beautiful than ever, a testament to the power of healing, forgiveness, and the unwavering bond they shared. In the heart of their town, where secrets still whispered in the shadows, Alara and Marcus stood united, their love a beacon of hope illuminating the path to a brighter tomorrow. This story, while exploring the complexities of love and its darker aspects, ultimately conveys the message that true love requires patience, understanding, and the willingness to confront one's fears together. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you enjoyed, then please like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.